Hey, what do you say, YouTubers? Welcome to episode 2 of Bashing on a Budget, where we're going to be putting some small-scale, budget-friendly bashers to the test. So stick around. I think you're going to be surprised on how well they perform. So this episode is on a Haiboxing 18th scale 4x4 race truck. This is a ready-to-run version. Comes with everything you need except for the AA batteries for the controller. The suspension on this is nice and plush. Seems good. The shock absorbers are friction spring. There's no oil in these, but they have the aluminum preload collars that you could adjust the tension on them. I think for a light truck like this, friction shocks are fine. You could always upgrade to oil shocks if you wanted. And if you're looking at all the composite on this truck, it's a nice solid one-piece chassis. It's nice and rigid. There's not much flex to it at all, but there is enough flex in the suspension arms to help with bashing. I don't think you have to worry about breaking anything. Front and rear bumpers are composite. They have the shock absorbers built into the bumpers, so you don't have to worry about breaking those. Same thing with the body mount towers. So I think this is going to be a good one. Let's go over the electronics real quick. You've got the 2-in-1 ESC receiver. The receiver and the ESC also controls the LED lights that are in the bumper. You got a DESIS connector here, which is a pretty universal connector. You can get batteries for this truck anywhere. And that's one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at some of these lower price trucks. A lot of them have a cartridge type battery that plugs in. So any of these hard connections like this here are much better off than a cartridge type battery. The battery compartment is over here on the side, and the batteries are held in place with this Velcro strap. On and off switch over here on the side. That's kind of nice. You don't have to pop the body off to turn it on and off. And we'll go over some of the safety features on another video. About battery management and maintenance on these trucks. But this is a great little entry-level hobby grade, which is important. Even the cheapest hobby grade truck is better than a toy grade, the best toy grade. Okay, they're miles apart. Metal gears, metal gear servos, the high content of nylon in the plastic, that all makes a world of difference. And that's going to be the difference between a truck that lasts and a truck that doesn't. Motor with a heat sink to help with the cooling, traditional bell crank steering, plastic servo with metal gears, and a plastic servo horn. It's got nylon wheels with 12mm hex, steel gear differentials with metal dog bones and composite knuckles. Haiboxing has been around for a long time. They got good customer service. Parts availability for this truck is fine. It comes with the manual with all the part numbers so you can order what you need. Let's take a look at the controller. It feels nice. It feels good in hand. I have big hands, but it feels nice and comfortable. It's got everything that you come to expect of a modern day controller. It's got on and off switch, steering trim. It's got the dual rates up here for the throttle. If you're trying to teach a young driver how to start, it limits the throttle response so it doesn't take off doing 60 miles an hour on you. And it's got the steering reverse over here. Has a nice feel to it. It's a little plasticky, but it's nice. Full proportion. So, the farther you turn it, the farther it steers, the more you pull it, the more accelerator you have. A lot of those toy grade ones, you just pull the trigger and it goes full speed. Same thing, you turn the wheels either left or right. There's no proportion to it. But this is a pretty nice controller. It's a nice little setup. I like it. Well, let me just remind you, if you missed the first episode of Bashing on a Budget, check the playlist. Well, I'll have all the episodes loaded. You can watch them at your leisure. You can follow along, and maybe help you decide which vehicle is best for you. We're going to go out and rip this thing, but while we're out there doing it, we're going to rate it on performance, durability, and fun factor. Oh, yeah, let's give her a whirl. Flies nice, sails nice, goes nice and straight. How it behaves in the air. This one here seems like you just keep your finger in the throttle and it flies nice and level. This thing here is pretty well behaved in the air. For the most part, if you keep your finger in the throttle and let off just before it lands, it goes good. Probably use a little tightening on the preload on the shocks, or a little soft. It slams down hard when it hits. I don't think it gets enough traction on the table to send it. Huh. Okay. Well, it can take a pretty hard hit on grass, albeit. See that? I just kept my throttle full. Probably a lot of fun in a dirt parking lot. This gravel's a little coarse for it. I do a couple speed runs. They say it does about 25 miles an hour. Let's say it's about. Hit myself. The roads are wet, so it's fun just kind of sliding around. All right, let's take a couple attempts. Let's see in real time here. Motor. Yeah, it's like a 110 at the most. I think it was like 112, 110. The ESC 82. Battery 67. See. That's pretty good. I mean, basically, you want to keep your temps below, yeah, like 150. Anything more than that, you start doing damage to the motor and the ESC, and you risk shutting down on thermal cutoff. So it's cold out today, so that's going to help. But this runs cool. I guess that heat sink's doing its job. All right, let's get back in the shop, and we'll go through that scoring system. Yes, that was a fun little truck. I think it was good for, a novice or, a kid, probably more for a kid. I think an adult would probably outgrow this pretty quickly, but it's a nice little truck to, get your feet wet with and learn about the hobby. So let's get right to the scoring system. I don't want to talk it to death, but we just have, 8 categories, and it's 1 to 5 for each category. So let's get started with that. So category 1 is overall damage, and it's either got damage or it doesn't. So it's either a 0 or a 5. And this thing here, it did pretty well, no damage. It took some pretty good jumps and some pretty hard hits. So we're going to give it a 5 for sustained damage. And next is a transmitter. I can be honest, I'm pretty clumsy, and on the way out of the shop to go outside and run this thing, I dropped the transmitter. I kicked it with my foot. It went bouncing across the garage floor. Picked it up, no damage, works fine. The only thing I'm going to give it, would take 1 point off because it doesn't have the foam on the wheel, which makes that nice and grippy when you're, trying to operate with one hand, and it's a little bit more comfortable. It makes the whole thing seem a little bit more high end. So we're just going to give that a 4 for the transmitter. Overall handling, it did pretty well. It doesn't have the bottom end grunt you really need to do any backflips or anything like that. You really can't get those wheels spinning when you do a jump. So we're going to just deduct 1 point for the overall handling. It, wasn't nose heavy, wasn't tail heavy. It just didn't really have the grunt it needed. So there's a 4. On steering, we're going to give it a 5. It handled very well. It steered nice and tight. The servo is plenty strong for what it is. We're in some tall grass out there. We're still steering, no problem. It took some pretty good jumps and landed, with the wheels, landed on one tire a few times, and it did fine. So a 5 on the steering. The next category is throttle response, and we give it a 4 for that. It just only because it didn't have the grunt that it needed to really get it going. It throttles up nice, and it, comes off the throttle okay. But we're still giving it a 4 on that. On braking, we're going to give it a 5. It did very well in the braking. Even on full speed up on the road, I do a speed run, hit the brakes, no problem. Suspension, it did okay. Nothing bent, nothing broke, no leaks because it doesn't have any oil in them. And that's why we're only giving it a 4, because it doesn't have oil damping shocks. And the last category is the quality of the electronics. They did a pretty good job on this one here. Being waterproof and all that, nothing overheated. You can see when I took the temps. The only reason I'm going to give it a 4 is because it doesn't have a programmable ESC. Is it really necessary on a low-end truck like this? Probably not, but it could have been. And so we're just going to deduct 1 point for that. So there it is, 35 points, which is pretty good for an entry-level truck like this. This thing comes in right at $85. I'm going to leave a link right in the comments if you guys are interested for yourself or for your kids. And also, while you're in there, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about it. So if you liked the video, leave that comment, give her a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next time.